But why isn't every African country like Chad? Why doesn't every African country behave like Chad? Donald Trump banned Chad from going to the USA. They also banned the people of the USA from going to Chad.
And earlier this year, around March, there were less African countries in the initial draft. Now, Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, a lot of US partners now join the majority. So go ahead and add the remaining 18 African countries left on the continent, and let's see if they care.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right. So in today's episode, you're going to be reacting to the President of America issuing travel bans on African countries and Caribbean countries, right?
Right. This is not the first time he was issuing travel bans, but
he expanded his list.
Yeah, he has expanded his list and visa restrictions to 29 more countries, I believe, most of them being in Africa and the Caribbean, right? And today we're just gonna be reacting to the reaction of most Africans who had a thing or two to say about the visa restriction.
Right, guys, we have to remember that I feel like Africans nowadays really they don't care, you know. I feel like in this video they're gonna be serving the president aura for aura, you know.
Right, and I do feel like when visa is being restricted for citizens of different countries in Africa, yes, it does affect the citizens, but it most especially affects the politicians of the said countries.
Right, but guys, we'll give our commentaries when we come back. For now, let's watch and then we come back with our commentaries. You can also let us know your opinion and thoughts on the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here. So let's watch and then we come back.
Sorry, but the new US travel ban warning is giving, if I can't have you, then nobody can. Because why reissue a warning to African countries like they don't already go through the highest visa rejection rate in Western world historically? So what's really going on? Because what we're not going to do is pretend this is about visa overstays or government instabilities, because if that were the case, half of the globe will be on that list, including countries far closer to Washington than Sierra Leone. So stop wasting our time. This new warning letter isn't really a heads up to African countries. It's more like you're getting too confident for our comforts, right? Because let's face it, an Africa asserting itself isn't a threat, it's an inconvenience. Because think about it, the second countries like Niger, Burkina Faso questions US support in the region, their names get propped up immediately. Or just recently when South Sudan, Libya, and Djibouti refused to play middlemen for US deportees who are of, get this, Filipino, Vietnamese background, just to name a few. And now their name got added to the list. So let me guess, those countries right now are high-risk travel countries? Listen, earlier this year, around March, there were less African countries in the initial draft. Now, Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, a lot of US partners now join the majority. So go ahead and add the remaining 18 African countries left on the continent, and let's see if they care.
But why isn't every African country like Chad? Why doesn't every African country behave like Chad? Donald Trump banned Chad from going to the USA. They also banned the people of the USA from going to Chad. Very simple. I don't know why us as Africans have the mentality that without the USA we cannot survive. Guys, tell me one good thing the people from America have done for Africans. Tell me one good thing they have done for us, or one good thing we have benefited from them. Nothing, guys, nothing. It is very simple. We need to bring Idi Amin policies back into power. Give the countries that he has banned from going to the USA, they should also ban American citizens from going to their countries. Very simple. They should also ban American countries from going to their countries. Literally. Because it doesn't make sense. Like, so he has banned your people from going to his country and his people are still in your country. Why? 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 Let me tell you, the only thing Americans have done for Africa is nothing. Is nothing. Like, guys, if you see Americans in an African country, just know there is either oil, there is gold, there is diamond. Americans have never helped Africans, guys. They have never helped Africans. They have never. Even the people that built their country, these black Americans, what are they doing to them right now? What are they doing to them right now? Aren't they the same people they are profiling? Aren't they the same people they are racist to? Aren't they the same people they are doing all these things to? And aren't they the people that built their country? Aren't they the people that built the country? They are the ones. Guys, Donald Trump has banned people from your country from going to their country. Ban their people too. Ban their people too. Very simple. Very simple. I even don't get the concept of why we need visas to go to America, and some countries they don't need visas to go to. Why? If we need visas to go there, they should also need visas to come here. Guys, Africans, we really slack a lot and it's so annoying. Like, what?
My people, there's been a shocking new development. Barely seconds after I dropped my last episode, breaking down how African countries are responding to Trump's latest travel ban on 9 African nations, a new twist has emerged. According to a leaked memo obtained and reported by the Washington Post over the weekend, the Trump team is now considering expanding the travel ban to include 36 more countries, 29 of them in Africa and the Caribbean. Yes, Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Egypt, Cameroon, even the DRC, which you think might be off limits given its pending critical minerals deal with the US. And a handful of Caribbean nations are also on the list. Let that sink in. This is no longer about targeting a few countries. This is now a sweeping immigration crackdown, one that could hit half the continent and several key diaspora nations in the Caribbean with a single policy stroke. And the justification? The usual suspect: national security, vetting concerns, uncooperative governments. We've heard it all before. But here's where it gets even more interesting and more revealing. Buried deep in that memo is a caveat. If a country is willing to accept third country nationals being deported from the US, people who aren't even from that country, they might get a break, some wiggle room, some political cover. So now you really have to ask, right? Is this really about national security? Or is this about pressure, leverage, and transactional diplomacy dressed up as policy? Because when deportation deals start deciding who gets banned and who doesn't, this isn't just immigration policy. This is coercion. It's control. It's about fear politics, not facts. And it's part of a much bigger play, what I call the making of a new America. Because this isn't just about who gets a visa. It's about who gets to move, who gets to build, who gets to belong in this country. So today on The Breakdown, we're diving into the Trump administration's plan to expand travel restrictions, what it means for Africa, the Caribbean, the diaspora, and how we might fight back with unity, policy, and yes, pressure.
So guys, welcome back. One thing I feel like is that nowadays, visa restrictions and travel ban on African countries doesn't work as the same way it used to work a long time ago. And this is because right now, a lot of people don't take going to America or any other first world countries as serious as it used to be a long time ago.
And when you look at this video, I feel like, as I said in the introduction, these African countries are just giving the President of America the same aura or energy he's serving to them because, okay, to be quite fair, it's quite unfair that historically we know that Africans have been kind of the most restricted nation that goes into America. You know, they've been the ones who've been denied visas the most. There was an interview with Meg Whitman, the lady who used to be an ambassador to, of America to Kenya. There was an interview of her that went viral in Kenya because she was talking about how they've made a business out of denying Africans visas, you know. And when you hear such things, you look at these things in a different point of view, if I may say. And for Chad, I do understand why they decided to retaliate and say, you know, if America is going to be issuing these travel bans and visa restrictions on us, then it's only fair for us to retaliate by, you know, not giving their citizens or cancelling those ones who've been given the visas to their country. Because why should they're thinking in this way? Why should your citizens come into our own nation, benefit from it? They're free to do businesses so long as they comply with the law of the land. You know, we are making it easy so much for your citizens to come into our nations, but you are making it difficult for our own citizens. You're kind of restricting that movement, you know, and that free flow of, you know, exchange of culture and economic whatever gains, you know.
Right. And the sister that spoke on the first video clip, she was saying that the American government, of course, is doing this to African countries because African countries are becoming more aware of the situation and are standing up against more and more things that they consider nonsense. They stand up against it. Things that they consider unjust, they stand up against it. And as the sister said, when they issue travel ban and visa restrictions to African countries, this is like their way of punishing. Okay, they feel like they're punishing Africans and telling them to stay in their own lane, right? And I do believe to some extent this is the truth because long time ago, when you would hear travel ban or visa restriction, it used to be very scary to Africans and African countries, right?
It used to sound like something
very big and bad. But right now, even as it is, when Americans stop to come into Africa, there are some countries like Kenya who really majorly depend on the tourism in Kenya, right? And a long time ago, should these things have happened, Kenya would suffer in terms of tourism. But right now, I feel like the tourism industry in Kenya has expanded to such a point where it's not only white America or white Europeans who are visiting the continent, but also blacks and other people from different parts of the world are visiting Africa. And you find in such a case where when they ban Africans from going to America or they tell Americans to not come to Africa, particularly Kenya, because of ABCD, you find people from China are still coming and hence business continues as usual.
Right. Guys, do you remember a case that went viral after the then President Barack Obama had visited Kenya, and then CNN ran a headline speaking about how Kenya was a hotbed of terror? That was despite the President of America being in Kenyan soil, yeah? And Kenyans went wild on CNN. They even had to apologize for that. And so I feel like a long time ago, they used to, like, America used to be looked at as a credible source. And when they issued travel bans, normally
people
it used
would
to
take
look
it serious.
Yeah, and it used to look, it used to come off as security issues. Africa is not safe and whatnot. But right now, I feel like it's not easy for them to just go based off of insecurity issues. Right now, they can only choose to bring out the travel bans and say they're restricting visas and not really necessarily put it as a security issue, because America itself is not looking good when it comes to security. When you look at the protests that are happening in LA, all I can say though right now, the people who suffer the most in all of this are not even the officials, it's the citizens, because I do believe right now, more and more Americans are finding opportunities in Africa. Those ones who are coming, white and black both, are coming to start businesses in Africa. For example, when you look at, there's a black American lady in Kenya called Kelis. She came and bought acres and acres of land, and she's doing farming there, So you find that there's a lot more groups that are having interest in Africa.
It's a symbiotic relationship between Africa and the West, And I do feel like it's coming to a point where things are about to take a drastic change, because long time ago America would do this and you wouldn't hear any resistance from African countries. But right now you hear a country like Chad, a country that most people would have a difficult time pointing in the map, saying that if you issue a travel ban or visa restriction against us, we are also gonna refuse your citizens from entering Chad. And I do believe, in as much as Chad is not a well-known country in Africa, there are still some Westerners who found opportunities in Chad, and I do foresee in the near future that it won't only be Chad alone. Every African countries will be retaliating in the same way.
I feel like Burkina Faso left a map, a roadmap for people to follow, because they successfully chased France out of their country, and they successfully managed to show the whole of Africa that, look, our nation can survive without our colonial masters. Burkina Faso literally showed Africa, you can resist, and it's not going, don't make it easy for them to exploit you. So right now,
even though America never colonized any African country, so let's just be clear on that, but they're having their government has been accused of having colonizer tendencies when it comes to business dealings with African countries.
Yeah, just look at what happened recently with China and America, when the president was trying to flex his muscle, imposing crazy tariffs on the country of China, and the Chinese also are strong. They stood up for themselves. So you can imagine how bad it looks for a nation that once was a world leader, and or So it considered
It would
itself
draw and people would
would
listen.
And right now they do this, people retaliate, they do this, people retaliate. Yeah, that is to say the American government right now does not hold the power, not do the other western countries like France. Right now, if you want something, I feel like it's a type of scratch my back type of situation. So it's good to see that Africa is waking up, Africa is rising,
and they're no longer taking things like visa restriction and the travel ban as serious as they used to.
But I feel like the only reason why an African country is able to do that is because they're also realizing their power, and they're also realizing the advantage they hold
over the Western countries.
Exactly, or the cards they're holding over the Western country. And why am I saying this? It's because right now Africa knows that there's America and its citizens, not just America but the other world countries are, its citizens are beginning to find interest in Africa. When we begin from that, because for you to have an upper hand on a bargaining table, you have to have
something that the other person doesn't have,
and they're interested in. And right now Africa is beginning to realize, or is beginning to become aware of the resources they hold, or of the things that they can be able to exchange. And that, for example, for Chad to do that, they know that the American citizens, the American citizens that are operating within their borders, are interested. They need that business to excel. And I do believe, I normally hear something about when American citizens move abroad, they still pay taxes back at home. Guys, you can clarify that for me, yeah? But that is something I normally hear. If that is true, it means even if American citizens move to other nations, it means they're still building the country, because they're still contributing to the national cake that America still enjoys,
So guys, let us know what you think about this on the comment section, and also consider subscribing if you're new to our channel, and we'll see you on our next episode.